The day I decided to divorce Ethan was my birthday. At the dining table, I pretended to joke and asked him if he loved me. Ethan forced a smile and replied, "You are in your 30s, why be so melodramatic?" I lowered my head in silence and glanced at the screenshot on my phone. In the chat background, Ethan was passionately kissing another woman. In the chat box, Ethan was declaring his love. "I, Ethan, have only loved you, Monica." Looking up again, I asked Ethan how about giving me a birthday gift? Ethan quickly replied, "What do you want?" "Just say it." I quickly removed the ring from my finger and said, "A gift for a new beginning, Ethan. Let's get a divorce." Chapter 1. Upon hearing my words, Ethan was momentarily stunned, his handsome brows furrowed slightly. He set down his knife and fork and slowly wiped the corners of his mouth with a napkin. Only then did he look up at me, examining me with impatience. "Laura, why do you seem like a completely different person?" I took a sip of my juice and replied, "What's wrong? Is romance not meant for us? After 5 years of marriage? Is it really that difficult to hear you say you love me?" Ethan stood up, walked over and patted my shoulder. "Cut it out. You know I'm not good at sweet talk. I heard you recently missed out on a project and are feeling down. I have a trade show coming up. Why don't you join me and get some fresh air?" I pulled away from his reaching hand and continued, "The divorce agreement is ready for you." Ethan was furious. "Laura, are you serious? You get pregnant and then want a divorce? Are your hormones out of whack?" "It really is a hormonal imbalance. I've always had a calm temperament, even after all these years battling in the business world. I have always spoken politely and never used foul language. Now that I'm pregnant, it seems my temper has worsened a bit." I stood up and threw my phone in front of him. "You're the one at fault. Don't provoke me or this will go to court and you won't come out looking good." Chapter 2. On my phone, there's a screenshot of a chat between Monica and Ethan that she sent me in the chat background among a group of teasing old classmates. She and Ethan are kissing passionately. The chat text is Ethan's heartfelt confession to her. It's fragmented, mixed with filler words, and looks like it was transcribed from a voice message. He has never forgotten her all these years. Marrying me at his parents' insistence was the biggest regret of his life. There is ultimately no turning back in life, but he, Ethan, only ever loved her. Monica. Ethan quickly explained after seeing the screenshot at the class reunion that day I got drunk. "Monica, you know I've never been composed. The message was edited and sent by her using my phone." I laughed at him. "So the kiss was just a random kiss?" Ethan was taken aback. Of course I was really out of it at the time. He pinched the bridge of his nose. "What kind of person do you think I am? Don't worry, I won't go to any more gatherings in the future." I know who you are," I said as I opened my phone and carefully examined the divorce process that the secretary had just sent. Ethan listened to me and smiled, "Right? This is my good wife, happy birthday. I'm going to check on the trade show." He grabbed his coat and walked toward the door. As he was about to open the door, I said softly, "Ethan, you're the scumbag who cheated on your wife during her pregnancy." Ethan turned around in shock. "Laura, why are you being unreasonable? I already said it was just drinking." I swallowed the nutritional supplement that came with the meal and coldly replied, "Save that for the judge. Let's see if he believes you." Chapter 3. Ethan casually remarked that I should take a good rest before walking out and closing the door. I cut the birthday cake myself and took a slow, small bite. The cream went down my throat, triggering my pregnancy nausea, and I rushed to the bathroom to throw up a large mouthful. Just as I was feeling miserable, Mrs. Lee called. Mrs. Lee is considered a benefactor who has supported me throughout my journey. When I first ventured out to start my own project, she was my very first investor. After she fully returned to her family, she kept in close contact with me, especially since I was still striving in the business world after getting married recently. Since both of us are pregnant, we often go for prenatal checkups together. Mrs. Lee always says that when she looks at me, it's like seeing another version of her life that had no choices. Now, as I read the messages she sent me, I can't help but laugh. What other version? When it comes to men cheating after marriage, it's a real-life drama, but clearly hers is more thrilling than mine. In the photo sent by Mrs. Lee, the man and woman are in the car, consumed by passion. Their bare bodies cling to each other like worms. Unable to let go, I swallowed down another wave of nausea and picked up the phone. Mrs. Lee was unusually emotional, her voice trembling with tears. "I'm pregnant and he's out sleeping with someone else. I feel so nauseous I could throw up my insides." I couldn't think of how to comfort her in that moment. So I started sharing my own experiences. "Don't worry, I'm in the same situation. We'll handle this together." Mrs. Lee exclaimed, What, Ethan? How could that be possible? Ethan is known as a good man in our circle. Every day it's just a straight line between work and home. Aside from work, it's all about fitness. He has always been seen as the typical example of someone who maintains a clean reputation, so it's understandable for Mrs. Lee to be shocked. But when she saw me silent, she quickly became indignant. See you at the hospital entrance tomorrow morning, we'll go together for the abortion. I quickly interrupted her, saying, no, Miss Lee. I can accompany you, but I won't have an abortion. Chapter 4. Upon hearing that I didn't want an abortion, Mrs. Lee's urge to chat kicked in. Fearing that a phone call wouldn't clarify things, she suggested we meet for dim sum in a few days. After hanging up, I rubbed my temples and got up to lie down on the bed. Ethan wasn't wrong. After all, pregnant women really do need to rest well. Just as I was closing my eyes to relax, my phone vibrated again. When I opened it, I found a message from Monica. We haven't spoken a word to each other since graduating from college, but ever since she returned from abroad last month, the message box has been buzzing with activity. Now it's a flurry of little essays, one after another. Laura, I'm really sorry. At the class reunion the other day, I got so drunk that I accidentally took Ossie's phone and opened her, hitting the record. Ossie was also drunk and said some nonsense. Laura, that day we were both confused after drinking. Back in college during a party we ended up hugging, and some classmates took photos and sent them to me. I mindlessly set one as my chat background. Laura, Ossie mentioned that you're pregnant, so I need to clarify that we are completely innocent. Please don't be angry. We will you to you together another day. What a chaotic mess of drunken behavior, confusingly transcribing the recording into text, setting a kissing background, and finally sending me a screenshot. After all these years, Monica really hasn't changed at all. Still wearing that delicate facade, she just loves to engage in those foolish acts that ruin other people's families. Chapter 5. Monica mentioned her college days. The three of us are college classmates. My relationship with Ethan has been quite traditional, a marriage of convenience, childhood sweethearts from elementary school to high school. Our families arranged for us to be together. Ethan has always excelled, and I've been trying to keep up for the university that our families couldn't arrange. We both worked hard to get in, and our admission scores were tied for first and second when we received our acceptance letters. Ning's father brought Ethan's name to my house. He said that our relationship was already set, and in a couple of years when we were older, we would have a formal engagement ceremony. Ning's mother joked at the time, you can't guarantee that some little temptress won't appear in college rushing to get close to someone wealthy. It would be bad if they ruined their fate together. Ethan retorted to his mom sharply, I only like Laura unless I'm blind. I wouldn't look at anyone else. The adults all laughed. He grabbed my hand and ran to a secluded corner. My face turned red, and he kissed me for the first time. He promised he would take good care of me in the future and would never betray me. I never expected that in his freshman year Ethan would go blind. He fell madly into Monica's web. Chapter 6. The reason it's called entanglement is that Monica's tactics are neither overtly pursuing nor subtly seducing, but instead she creates all sorts of coincidences and then comes over with an innocent look to explain the situation. She and I are roommates. Ethan and I have always been inseparable. Everyone in the college knows that we are a couple. However, Monica always seems to have some unique stories with Ethan in various situations. For instance, during an outing, she rode a shared bike and crashed directly into Ethan's bike. She fell and ended up with bruises all over her arms, and her forehead was bleeding. Ethan took her to the hospital afterward. She held my hand and explained, Laura, please don't misunderstand, I just went to the hospital. There's nothing going on between him and me. For instance, Ethan and I teamed up for a student activity, and she signed up as a volunteer for the event. During the event, I accidentally spilled the milk tea that Ethan had bought for me. After soaking the event materials, I volunteered to reprint them. I dragged Ethan to the print shop. When we returned, he said to me, Laura, it's just printing some materials, don't overthink it. Chapter 7. At first, Ethan complained to me with a look of annoyance. He said that Monica was the most annoying girl he had ever met. However, after a few incidents like that, Ethan changed when he brought me things. He started bringing 2 portions. That poor roommate of yours named Monica is living a shabby life. Why not give her a little charity? Eventually he started calling her Moni, and Monica called him OSI. It was on the day of my birthday party during freshman year. Ethan put his arm around her shoulder in front of everyone. He said that from now on I had Moni as a sister. Monica smiled brightly and said, What sister? You might as well call me brother. He kept repeating that line, Laura, don't misunderstand, it's just a form of greeting later on after they had been brothers for a while. One day Ethan suddenly told me his feelings for me have never been romantic. After we broke up, Ethan had a passionate relationship with Monica in the end. It concluded with Monica going abroad with her mentor Ning's father beat him up badly. Ethan knelt at my door all night. Injured, the rain soaked him, causing his wounds to bleed. While he was unconscious in the hospital, he kept calling my name, begging for my forgiveness. My mom was holding me at the time and advised Laura, what man isn't confused? Don't let it get to you. My dad had a grim expression saying I was being unreasonable and wouldn't let Ethan into the house, which caused him to get caught in the rain and end up in the hospital. Ultimately, I couldn't let go of the feelings that had been with me since childhood. Following my parents' arrangement, I got engaged to him. I never expected that Monica would show up again. Now the two of them are about to reenact their past entanglements right in front of me. Chapter 8. Miss Lee chose a tea restaurant with a light flavor and elegant decor. In the half-month we hadn't seen each other, we both got caught up in new experiences, but she had dark circles under her eyes, messy hair, and her clothes were disheveled. I kept a serene expression, dressed in a soft cashmere dress, and had thoughtfully accessorized with an Australian white wool necklace. After taking a bite of the snacks, I swallowed a nutritional supplement. Mrs. Lee finally couldn't hold back her question. Laura, did I mishear you on the phone? Ethan cheated, right? That can't be true. I shook my head and replied you didn't mishear. Mrs. Lee looked perplexed then. I don't understand. I can hardly wait to get an abortion. What's wrong with you? Given the circumstances, are you really going to have a child with that filthy man? I calmly stroked her hand and responded to her question, Mrs. Lee. We've known each other for so long based on your observations. Have I ever acted without preparation? I faced Mrs. Lee's probing gaze. I took out the prenuptial agreement that Ning's family promised me. Chapter 9. The prenuptial agreement stipulates that if either party cheats, the assets of the cheating party will belong to the children. Mrs. Lee looked impressed. You old money types are just different people like us. The nouveau riche could never come up with something like that. I smiled. Riley, achieving deep family ties through marriage is just about interests, after all. After all, marrying into a wealthy family makes one very fearful of the instability that divorce brings, which is why they come up with this kind of solution. However, this agreement is actually quite cunning. It only takes effect if a child is born, yet once there is a child, in most cases, especially for ordinary women, they won't choose to get divorced after enduring 10 months of pregnancy and giving birth. How could anyone bear to let their child grow up without a father? I think of my mom when my dad was out playing around in his youth. My mom would come to me in tears feeling wronged. Laura, Mom is staying married for you and brother. I don't want you to grow up without a father. Back then, I was young and always filled with indignation, but now that I'm older, I have a different perspective. I don't want to be an ordinary woman. Mrs. Lee handed me the agreement with a grim expression. Laura, I don't have the same security as you, I reassured her. Think about it. While this matter shouldn't be dragged on, it also can't be resolved in an instant. Before I could finish my sentence, Mrs. Lee interrupted me. Mrs. Lee is getting emotional again. I don't want to think about a filthy man like him. I certainly don't want to have his children. I swallowed a shrimp dumpling and wiped my mouth. All right, since you've made up your mind, let's not delay. I'll go with you. We'll get the abortion done today. Chapter 10. All the way we agreed that she would have the abortion while I would go for a pregnancy checkup. At the department's entrance, there was a girl who had just come out of the operating room, looking somewhat pale. There was another girl squatting on the ground, hugging her knees with her head buried deep. When they finally called our number, Mrs. Lee tightly gripped my sleeve. Her face looked terrible, her hands were trembling slightly. I quietly asked what's wrong. Don't you want to go in? Mrs. Lee bit her lip and pulled me into the side stairwell. There was no one in the stairwell. She sat down on the bench, covering her face and crying softly. I approached her and gently hugged her, whispering comforting words. Don't hold it in, you can tell me anything. Mrs. Lee leaned on my shoulder, her voice trembling. Laura, I hate that I feel so unwilling that my body isn't suited for having children. I don't know how many OVC shots I took to have this child, and I never expected it would end like this. If it were you, could you bear it? And I haven't had my own income for a long time. My husband has ruined my original company over the past few years. This child is the only leverage I have to keep him with without him. What am I supposed to do? She spoke a lot, all at once. I sighed deeply and wiped her tears. This is how it should be. You need to take the time to think this through instead of impulsively talking about abortion all the time. Laura, you Mrs. looked up. Do you think it's as simple as just saying it? I smiled and replied it requires an appointment too, but people only become clear-headed when pushed to a dead end. So I encourage you to come, just calm down and we can plan for the long term. Also, starting today, I don't want to call you Mrs. Lee anymore. I want to call me Zoe, she said, holding me tightly. Once we calmed our emotions, we went for a pregnancy checkup. To our surprise, just after stepping out of the elevator, we spotted Ethan. Ethan was assisting a woman with a bleeding leg in the surgical line. Both of them were dressed in athletic wear. The woman was wearing Ethan's jacket, but it couldn't conceal her curvy figure. It's Monica, isn't that your Ethan? Zoe ISS? Previously calm emotions surged back to the surface. She charged straight up to them. She grabbed Monica and slapped her hard across the face. Everyone come and see the dead little third party. With that shout, people quickly gathered around Monica, covered her face, tears streaming down her cheeks. In the chaos, Carnt had a chance pan to say anything. A boy holding a bottle of mineral water ran over. Who are you calling the little third party? Chapter 11. It's really lively. Who are you? Zoe asked the boy. I'm Lucas, a student of Monica's. She's an outstanding teacher. How can you slander her? The boy was tall and radiated youthful energy. I've recently found someone to learn about Monica's situation. After she returned to the country, she works as a lecturer at a university. That boy must be her student. Is she really an outstanding talent? She's a scumbag. She's a married man. What does it mean for them to be so close? Zoe gestured wildly, darting between Ethan and Monica in my scene of infidelity. Zoe was even more excited than I was. The situation was quite absurd. Excuse me, miss, you've misunderstood. I was injured and couldn't stand on my own. I ran into an old classmate at the gym, and he kindly brought me to the hospital. Please don't just slander people, Monica cried, her face streaked with tears. Feeling wronged, Ethan quickly pulled back his hand that had been resting on Monica and sternly told the onlookers it's a misunderstanding. There's nothing to see here. Everyone disperse. I let out a cold laugh. Ethan, you always claimed to be too busy during my pregnancy checkups to accompany me. Turns out you were busy with this. Instead, Ethan walked over to me looking concerned and said I've been under a lot of pressure at work lately, so I've been hitting the gym more often. I ran into Monica, who was injured. It was truly an accident. Last time it was getting drunk, and this time it's an accident. How peculiar, I scoffed, pointing at the jacket on Monica. I gave you that sports jacket. Ethan, upon hearing this, shook his hand and pulled back his coat, and was surprisingly wearing a tight crop top of age. Suddenly feeling cold, she shivered. A student named Lucas quickly took off his outerwear and draped it over Monica, twisting open a bottle of water and handing it to her teacher. You should drink some water to calm down. Monica pushed the water away and came crying to me. Laura, we were roommates in college. Trust me, nothing happened. Between the coat was given to me by Aussie because he saw I was cold. Teacher, you don't need to explain. The innocent are clear, Lucas said as he pulled Monica back. Ethan held my hand and said, Laura, I'll go with you for your pregnancy checkup. These three could practically put on a grand performance. I felt a wave of nausea and said, no thanks, you can stay away. I shook off his hand and quickly pulled Zoe away. Zoe vented her frustration as we walked. Even though I didn't catch the mistress in the act, slapping Ethan this time feels satisfying. I was completely at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Zoe, exclaimed Laura, you really can handle things. Aren't you even a little angry? I've already gotten angry, and now I'm just focused on solving the problem I sighed. Monica's appearance might be heaven's way of saving me. Zoe, I've had enough of Ethan for a long time. Chapter 12. When I first married Ethan, I was filled with joy thinking that despite the ups and downs, I had transitioned from school uniforms to wedding dresses with the person I loved. I worked hard to maintain my relationship with him. Ethan has a bit of a lung issue, so I often make him pea soup to soothe his lungs. He enjoys working out, so I go to the gym with him whenever I have free time. But gradually I realized something was off. I have feelings, yet he only knows how to buy gifts and never asks me why I'm unhappy. We work out together at the gym, but there's never any communication. When I wipe his sweat, he even pulls away. He wasn't like this before we married. After breaking up with Monica, he tried hard to treat me well, claiming he wanted to make up for his mistakes. But after we got married, he cooled down like an engine after a race. I was tormented inside, unable to find the reason. In the middle of the night, when I broke down, I hugged him from behind and asked if I wasn't good enough in some way. I would change, but he always tells me I'm wonderful and advises me not to overthink things. Gradually, I became disheartened. In public, we play the part of a loving couple behind closed doors. We behave like roommates. Until recently, Ethan helped me and said, "Laura, we should have a child. I want to create something that belongs to us." My mom and mother-in-law have been pressuring us to have a baby. Deep down, a flicker of hope quietly began to rise. Would having a child be a good thing? I didn't expect to be caught off guard before I even had an answer. Monica showing up at this moment, Ethan said he was drunk, so he kissed Monica. But I know what he looks like when he's drunk in business. How many times has he been drunk? There are no exceptions. Every time he remains calm and composed. So when I saw the photo of them kissing, I realized the answer. Our marriage won't survive. Ethan's so-the-called drunken words only made me completely sober. It turns out that his actions before marriage weren't to make amends. They were to deceive me into marrying him. After we got married, he regretted listening to his family and marrying me. What I took pride in from school uniform to wedding dress, it's not as good as the time he clinked glasses with Monica out of unrequited love. The night I received the screenshot from Monica, I couldn't sleep at all. My tears soaked the pillow. I regret being like a turtle, struggling for so long in a crumbling marriage. Even more shameful was my foolishness and thinking I could rely on the children to save my marriage. The child is so innocent. In the end, I am deeply grateful. I am grateful that I never gave up on my career. This is the greatest source of courage that keeps me going. Chapter 13. After coming out of the hospital with Zoe, we talked a bit more. When I got home, Ethan was already there. "Laura," he said as he approached, wanting to hug me. I quickly dodged, saying gross. He awkwardly withdrew his hand and handed me his phone. "Laura, I know I shouldn't have any contact with her anymore. I really didn't expect to run into her at the gym. We're old classmates and I couldn't just ignore her. You can check my phone. I've already deleted all her contact information from now on. She's just a stranger." Then, with a sincere expression, he took out a necklace. "Don't be angry. Being angry isn't good for the baby. This is a rare blue diamond necklace I got here. Let me put it on you." I didn't say anything. Ethan pulled me to sit by the mirror and put it on me. The blue diamond sparkled with a clear light looking into his flattering eyes. I felt as if I had returned to that rainy night. He was injured in the hospital, and he held my hand in the same flattering way, begging for my forgiveness. "I won't fall for the same trick a second time. Ethan, I can buy a bunch of such cheap things without a second thought. They're not rare at all." I touched the necklace and said softly. Ethan was originally bent over looking at the mirror. After hearing me out, he slowly stood up straight, his tone turned cold. "All right, I'll find someone better for you in the future, but you should also be careful not to get too close to that Mrs. Lee. She's lost her mind just a few days ago. She even hired a private detective to follow her husband. You should be a good wife. You've always known how to be one." In the mirror, his long legs flashed by. Then I heard the sound of the door clicking shut after he left. I quickly took out my phone. The surveillance footage that the secretary found had already been sent. Ethan told me not to hire a private detective like Zoe Ha. There's really no need to go through all that trouble. He has no idea that I've already taken over that gym. I'm the owner of that gym. While I was in the hospital, I had my secretary check the surveillance footage. Chapter 14. In the footage, Monica entered the gym with Lucas following her. Her gaze wandered until she spotted Ethan. Then she quickly positioned herself next to him on the treadmill, from pretending to be surprised with her hands over her face to tears welling up in her eyes. Her transition was seamless, that moved to a treadmill that was far away from Ethan. She kept turning her head to look at Ethan and suddenly fell onto the treadmill. Her leg was cut and bleeding. Lucas quickly rushed to help her, but Ethan ran straight to her side, swatted Lucas's hand and picked up Monica to rush outside. Monica clung to Ethan like an octopus after watching the video. I must say Monica is truly skilled. She employs this competitive strategy with great finesse. I called the secretary. "Please help me find the contact information for someone." It's Monica's student named Lucas. Chapter 15. After the unpleasant parting with Ethan that day, he began staying out all night. I made an appointment with a therapist to occasionally get some mental relief. I shared this situation with the therapist. The therapist asked me, "Have you ever heard of a term called compliance testing?" I nodded and replied, "I've heard of it." That was the only time I reacted sarcastically to a gift he gave me. He didn't like it and punished me, trying to force me to back down. The therapist smiled and said, "Miss, you are truly sharp. In fact, you come here more to vent. Your psychological resilience is quite impressive. It's clear that your calm maturity has been suppressed." A wave of bitterness surged within me. Having grown up under pressure at home, I'm glad that I've been making adjustments over the years. Things are much better now. The counselor advised me during this time while ensuring you get enough rest. Try to engage in more activities. It will help you break free from negative emotions. I agreed. I really take the counselor's advice to heart. I was so busy that I had no time to feel melancholic during the day. I was occupied with work in the evenings in addition to helping Zoe choose projects. I also had to watch the gym videos that the secretary carefully sent over. It felt like following a TV series. Ethan hasn't been coming home lately. She still goes to the gym every day. And at the same time, Monica is there too. Chapter 16. Monica's legs are recovering remarkably fast, rain or shine. She insists on working out every time Monica chooses the gym equipment that is farthest from Ethan. She still brings Lucas with her. Lucas takes great care of her, from adjusting the machines to bringing water and towels. He is attentive to every detail. After years of marriage, I know Ethan too well. He appears calm and composed while working out. In fact, I was completely distracted, especially when Monica and Lucas were laughing and chatting. Ethan's movements were stiff and awkward, and every time Monica interacted with Lucas, she would glance over at Ethan on the stage with these three people. Monica intentionally used other men to make Ethan jealous. Ethan fell for it, consumed by jealousy. Only Lucas remained blissfully unaware. Ethan's workouts became increasingly distracted. Finally, one day Monica stopped bringing Lucas along. She was adjusting the machine herself, clearly not doing it correctly. She looked up and around, wearing helpless expression. Her gaze met Ethan's. They stared at each other like that for a full minute. Then they both walked towards each other. Ethan helped her set up the latest machine. The two of them exercised side by side. Not a single word was spoken the entire time, but I knew the embers were about to reignite. Chapter 17. 2 weeks after Ethan hadn't returned home, he called early in the morning. Laura, the exhibition gala is scheduled for 3 days from now, and I'll send a gift to your house, so be prepared, I coldly replied with just 2 words. No time, he quickly hung up the phone. In the evening I invited Zoe over to my house. I need to discuss the projects I've filtered for her. I clarified everything with her some time ago. The most important thing right now is to consider the child's custody and to regain control over the assets. I asked Zoe to find a way to list all the assets under the in group for me. I selected some inconspicuous, but highly promising from that list. No matter what means you use, whether begging or playing the victim, once you get these in hand, you'll have a relatively decent chance to get back in the game. Zoe was impressed by my business acumen. Nodding repeatedly, she glanced at the simple analysis report I had written and suddenly spoke up. Laura, I hadn't considered whether to keep the child before coming here. Now I know the answer. I won't keep this child. She choked up and said I can't continue living with a man who cheated. Since I'm leaving, my priority is to get back to my career. I'll be too busy to provide the child with a good start. And I'm different from you, Laura, you're irrational enough. I'm dependent. I'm afraid that if the child is born, my life will revolve entirely around the child, which wouldn't be good for either of us. Zoe held my hand and said, I understand why you left the child. Your abilities give you enough confidence. I nodded and said the love of parents is not just about raising a child, about supporting them. In fact, making Ethan leave with nothing is merely a punishment for him. My child doesn't lack that little bit of money. I can provide my child with all the resources they need. Zoe asked Laura, have you considered the issue of the father's absence? I took a sip of water and replied a child's healthy personality depends on the education they receive. Having an inadequate father and a repressive home is worse than having no father at all. Capable mother can provide comprehensive education on her own. Zoe had red eyes and could no longer agree with what I was saying. I clapped my hands and stood up. All right, we've wrapped up the serious stuff. Zoe, let me show you something interesting. I pulled out some healthy snacks and set out freshly squeezed juice. I opened the latest gym video sent by the secretary. Chapter 18. Zoe quickly switched to gossip mode. Ethan looks like he's in a bad mood. I gave a thumbs up. Zoe, good eye. I choked him this morning. He's probably about to explode. Are you upset? Shouldn't you try to ease that? What about his mistress? Zoe said just as Monica appeared. The two of them ran silently side by side. The workout was over. Monica picked up a water cup, wanting to drink, but opened it and then put it back down. It seemed she forgot to fill it with water. She hadn't brought any water or a towel, looking pitifully at Ethan's water cup and towel. Zoe, this is escalating, I remarked. Zoe said, what a strong cup of tea. Ethan hesitated for a few seconds. It seems like she went through a fierce internal struggle. Nevertheless, She handed him the cup of water, then she slowly walked over to his side. She picked up a towel and surprisingly began to wipe the sweat from her forehead. In that moment, Monica must have waited for quite a while. She took hold of Ethan's hand. Tears as big as being streamed down her face. Suddenly she wrapped her arms around Ethan's waist and kissed him. Zoe, who was eating nuts, had her mouth wide open, looking like a stunned hamster. I began clicking the mouth frantically, capturing screenshot after screenshot. Zoe suddenly threw the nuts and asked me for the gym address. Laura, what's the point of just taking screenshots from my experience? Those two are definitely going to have a story tonight. Zoe quickly called the detective she hired. Go follow those two right now. Chapter 19 at 9 o'clock in the evening. The detective sent a message. Ethan and Monica went to the hotel. Zoe grabbed her coat and pulled me out the door. Now we have solid evidence. Let's go, sis. I'll take you to catch them in the act. As I was walking towards the door, something suddenly came to mind. Zoe, we don't need to go together. I have a better candidate. Do you remember that guy who swore last time at the hospital that Monica wasn't the mistress? I sent someone to specifically inquire about the relationship between these two. All the research projects that Monica is involved in are being handled by Lucas. However, most of the research results are claimed by her as her own. The way Lucas looks at her goes far beyond the admiration a student has for a teacher. The fact that he has accompanied her to the gym multiple times privately also indicates that their relationship is quite special. I picked up my phone and called Monica's little wolf dog. Hi, sorry to interrupt you, but I think what I have to say will definitely interest you. Chapter 20 at midnight, I received some significant feedback. My phone first displayed a friend request. Lucas searched for my WeChat using my phone number. As soon as I accepted, the chat window began flooding with photos. All of them were photos of Ethan and Monica's affair. Lucas must have figured out a way to barge into their room. In the photos, Monica was curled up in bed. Ethan was wearing a bathrobe scattered on the floor, where several used to of the scene is provocative. Making one blush, Lucas called and left a voice message. I'm sorry I was the one who offended you at the hospital. I just found out today that I was completely deceived by her. She exploited my love for her to take advantage of my labor while professing her love to me. All the while entangled with your husband. He took a deep breath and said, "Don't worry, I will definitely expose this woman's true colors." I didn't say much and just gave him a way to contact me. It's Monica's previous mentor's wife's email address. I found out through someone else that Monica doesn't have academic ability. During her years abroad, she has relied on her advisor to publish several articles in academic circles abroad. They have long referred to her as Academic Medusa. She was sent back to her home country by her advisor's original partner. She's a habitual offender. Chapter 21 I called Ethan and told him to come home tonight. Ethan responded readily. Good that you realize your mistake. I'll come home tonight, he thought. I was backing down when he got home. Ethan looked exhausted. He was probably stressed out over Lucas bursting into the room. I added fuel to the fire at just the right moment. The coffee table was covered with photos, Ethan. The evidence is quite sufficient, isn't it? His face burned with anger as he hoarsely said, You don't want to leave any room for negotiation, do you? I nodded and said we'll get a divorce tomorrow. You'll leave with nothing, and the kids will stay with me from now on. We're done with each other. Ethan rarely got angry, Laura. Do you think you're so noble? Let me tell you, the affair isn't entirely my fault. Look at yourself. Do you even resemble a woman? Since childhood, you've always managed to overshadow me at crucial moments. Back in school, you always fought with me for first place, and that was fine, but even after we got married, you still can't settle down, always immersed in the business world, seeking the spotlight. Now that we're facing a crisis in our relationship, all you see is money, cold, and robotic. Do you know why I like Monica? It's because she made me experience the passion of love and understand a woman's dependence on a man. Ethan completely lost his composure after rambling on like this. He sank heavily onto the sofa, holding his forehead. I quietly listened to him finish. In the midst of the science, I suddenly laughed. Ethan, with red eyes, asked me, What are you laughing at? I shrugged and replied, I'm laughing because I just realized what it means to be enraged by helplessness. I scoffed at the idea of arguing with him. I've already wasted enough time on him. You can never wake someone who is pretending to be asleep. I handed him the divorce agreement. Ethan let out a cold snort at me. Divorce is the best thing. I'll marry Monica immediately. Not a cold woman like you can just hold on to your money and grow old alone. Thanks for the blessing, I replied flatly. Ethan was furious. He pulled out the agreement. Didn't even glance at it, and just signed it Chapter 22 during the divorce cooling-off period. My dad kept calling me incessantly. Are you out of your mind? You're pregnant and getting a divorce? I quietly listened as he went on about the downsides of divorce. Both families' reputations could face property disputes, and the interests of both families are tied to the dissolution, but he never considered my happiness. I didn't say much, I just replied briefly. Ethan will soon be caught up in scandal. Divorce is a safeguard for the CIA family, even if we take a step back. Dad, whether or not to divorce is my marital freedom. I will consider your opinion, but I will no longer accept your manipulation and tell my mom not to try to persuade me it's pointless. Since childhood, I've received too much education from my dad. He taught me that girls shouldn't be competitive. The most important thing is to marry into a good family and to be modest, low-key, and obedient. He entrusted all the group's work to my brothers to manage. He arranged for me to marry into a good family, but now the absurdity of the good marriage trend has been proven, and my mom, for the sake of the children, chose not to divorce and worked hard to maintain a facade of peace. In reality, she lives on thin ice filled with grievances. I don't want to live this kind of life. My life and my child's life should be defined by us. Chapter 23. On the day we went to get the divorce certificate, Ethan brought Monica along in front of Ethan. Monica looked extremely awkward. Laura, I told him not to handle the paperwork all in one day, but he didn't listen yet. When Ethan went to answer the phone, she turned around and arrogantly flapped it to me. Laura, you lost to me in college, and now you're still losing. Thank you for taking care of Aussie all these years. A man as wonderful as him truly deserves the best life partner. I stared at her blankly like a fighting cock after obtaining the divorce certificate. I smiled at Monica before leaving. I wish you happiness, your wedding gift is on the way. Having said that, I turned and walked away at the same time. I sent a message to Lucas. The divorce and marriage are both over. Find an appropriate time to share the news. Chapter 24. Zoe managed to secure the assets, and after sorting everything out, brought up the divorce with her husband. Her husband mocked her, thinking she was merely putting on a brave front. Zoe told me she had already scheduled the abortion on the day of the mascarinus. I was there with her before entering the operating room. She stroked her belly and said, Laura, I feel sorry for this child, but I have no other choice. I held her hand and said we can only ever make the best choice, right? Zoe nodded and entered the operating room inside, and outside the room one life is fading away while another is growing. What is being interpreted is the courage to start over. Chapter 25. Ethan's news of walking away with nothing began to circulate on social media. Clearly, he hadn't mentioned this to Monica. On the contrary, he hired online trolls to spread news about his new marriage to Monica. The title suggests that true love can overcome any hardship. However, his true love could no longer contain herself. Monica called me in her rage to confront me. Laura, do you have no shame? A day as husband and wife means 100 days of kindness. And you actually let him leave with nothing? You've really made a fool of me. I smiled and replied, this is just the beginning. People are acting and heaven is watching. You should count your blessings. I hung up that there's a trending entry online titled Academic Medusa. Someone has provided a detailed analysis of the academic achievements that Monica has acquired over the years, either through resource theft or by exploiting students. There is also a PPT that details various pieces of evidence showing her repeated destruction of other people's marriages on that day. The school where Monica works quickly issued a statement announcing that an investigation had been initiated regarding the situation. Just a few days later, the investigation results were released. The allegations are true, they violate professional ethics, and the lecturer has been dismissed. In comparison, the previous posts about true love seem utterly ridiculous. At the same time, someone uncovered the news that I was pregnant. This confirmed that Ethan had cheated during his wife's pregnancy. As a result, the entire Ning Group's stock price plummeted. Ethan was originally a director of the group, and the group issued a statement overnight to remove him from his position. Ning, the competition among the descendants is intense. Ethan, my older brother, pressured the family to completely remove Ethan from the management team. At this point, I completely blocked all contact with Monica and Ethan. Chapter 26. My belly gradually started to grow. When I was 8 months pregnant, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a familiar voice came through the line. Laura, are you about to give birth? Can I come see you? I want to witness our child being born. It's Ethan, we haven't seen each other in months. His voice sounds older than ever. I hadn't even had a chance to speak when he hurriedly continued, Laura, I divorced that crazy woman. Monica Laura, I'm sorry for what I did. Can you? I interrupted him, Mr. Ning. Your relationship with your wife is none of my concern. You're stained with disgrace, your career is in ruins. Take a good look in the mirror. My child has naught to do with you, and will take their mother's surname. Take care of yourself. Don't call me again. On the other end of the line, Ethan's voice was choked with emotion. In the end, I couldn't utter a single word. Chapter 27. Time flies. The due date is almost here. Zoe was originally working tirelessly on the project, but at this point she took a leave of absence and spent every day at the maternity center. She lay on my belly listening to the baby's movements. Her eyes were brimming with tears. Laura, we agreed that this child is both yours and mine. I smiled and replied, addressing the baby who was kicking inside. Little rascal, look how much your godmother loves you. I'm so afraid she'll reach in and pull you out on the day of your birth. After a loud cry, I officially accepted the precious gift bestowed upon me by the heavens. In that moment I felt utterly exhausted, yet filled with strength. I silently repeat in my heart, may your heart be clear, your eyes bright, and your body healthy. May your soul be free and your character virtuous. May you fear nothing, follow your heart, and always move forward.